That's right back, Charlie. That's right.
People, Deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, bro. Come on.
There's always just that active red flag defenders. I think it's like. There's always just that active red flag defenders. I think it's like.
Yeah, the second one wasn't meant to happen, but nonetheless, people, Deluded, I'm back again. I mean, you would have seen me and Jess live, you know, we're just on her channel. I can't imagine you're not subscribed, but you know what to go and do. Go and like the video, in fact, videos, subscribe, etc., etc. And simply put, we're picking up where we left off. I know you already asked me this and we was with each other literally a couple of minutes ago. Nonetheless, how are you?
I'm good. Arsenal are winning games. Arsenal are looking good, scoring lots of goals, not conceding a lot of goals. So I'm happy. You know, Kiwior is getting the praise that he deserves. I just saw something in The Athletic about Arteta saying how great he is and how he's developing well. So
it's like
I'm in a great mood.
How special you are. I hear it.
I'm in a great mood. Thanks.
Fair enough. Big up Kiwior. He is playing a new position. In fact, let's kick off there, man. Like, obviously, what have you made of Kai Havertz playing up front? What have you made of Kiwior playing at left back? And what have you made of the Newcastle game? Because you just played that.
I think with Havertz up front, it's just kind of like at Arsenal as a number 9, you don't always have to score goals to have a good game.
Really?
You know, that's kind of where we're at, you know. So my expectation of Kai Havertz is to occupy center backs and be like, you know, there to finish off moves. And I think he did that pretty well against Newcastle. He missed a sitter, but, you know, he made one of his shots. So, yeah, I think he looks good up there. I feel like it's a great template for what Arsenal should be looking for in the summer because we already have like one of the best false nines that you can have in Gabriel Jesus. So my idea would be like somebody more like Kai Havertz, but clinical. You know, tall, strong, fast-ish, you know, can do the bare minimum link-up play. It doesn't have to be anything like, you know, outstanding, but occupies center backs is in the box, you know. And so watching Kai Havertz makes me more excited for the striker that we're going to buy in the summer, but his performances have been good. And in terms of Kiwior, I just think when Arteta decided not to make him invert as much, it just showcased his quality a lot more. He still needs to work on his 1v1 defending in wide areas. I feel like that's like the main thing, but I feel like having center backs play fullback, that's always going to be a sore spot. I just don't think they defend as well. You can let me know because you obviously have played the position, but it feels like not having natural fullbacks when they get into those wide positions, they can get cooked, you know, they're not really, feeling it. So he's if he can work on that, he'd be really good there because I think his passing is good. I think his passing range is nice, you know. So I'm enjoying, his development because we need him because we don't know what's going on with like Tommy and Zinchenko. Like they're both injured, but we don't know when they're going to come back. So having a good Kiwior is important.
I mean, as you said there, I think the major thing with Kiwior is you're looking confident. And I feel in the same way form's picked up, he's been able to kind of carry that in. It's nice to obviously see him score, in the same way when everything's going wrong, that can be infectious. It can be infectious when things are working. I agree with what you said. I still think there's tests. I think with Kiwior, I do think regardless of where you play, if you're a defender, there's certain elements that you should be strong with. But obviously, he's not a fullback by trade in it, so he's going to get caught out. His positioning isn't always going to be. He's going to switch off, which hasn't necessarily been the case in recent games. I think generally he'll need to improve that because, God forbid, but let's just assume Big Gabriel's dropped for whatever reason. You're going to have to play centre back. Gabriel goes out wide in our build-up play, so you're going to have to add that. But I'm not expecting Kiwior to be the finished article, really. So he's doing what he's doing. In relation to Kai Havertz, it's another positive performance. I think when he's got too much time to think, he obviously misses. But, you know, we know he's not a clinical goal scorer. He played well. I know Gabriel Jesus has picked up an injury and he was on the bench against Newcastle and he isn't fit. But let's just assume he is fully fit now. Is Kai Havertz the first choice striker for you moving forward until something changes?
I do think so. My rule of thought on this is that everybody, except for like maybe 4 people, genuinely need to fight for their position in the team. And Gabriel Jesus is not in that 4 people. So Trossard and Kai Havertz have done a really good job holding down the fort. It's not like they're just up there, but we're like, but when is Jesus coming back? Genuinely, I don't feel like I've missed Jesus that much, which I think is a testament to what they've been doing so far. Yeah. So I do feel like Jesus in our minds is probably a part of our best 11s in our mind. Like he had probably like the best 4 months an Arsenal forward has ever had since like Alexis, in my opinion, at the beginning of last season. He was just like, it was like, wow, he is perfect. But that injury, we just haven't seen the best of him since then. So yeah, I think right now I'm leaning more towards Kai, especially when I'm thinking about big games, because I feel like you need to be able to occupy bigger center backs. And I think that's where Jesus kind of lacks. So
that's harsh, man. Physically, yeah, to a degree, but I think for you know, there's fight in that small boy Gabriel Jesus. I think that's I hear you.
Occupying center backs and being feisty is different. Like I feel like he's
do you remember when Jesus came off against Anfield last year and Trossard went up there?
I mean, we're talking about the difference between Kai and Jesus. Not.
I'm just saying. I'm being devil's advocate. I think you're downplaying Jesus a bit there. I've got a job to, you know, do my job, Jess, man.
I'm just saying that, like, I just think that Kai Havertz does a better job at occupying center backs.
I hear that. That's right. And I think you made a great point in that. I think you actually said it on the last live stream. Go and check that out. Where when you deep it, it's almost like playing up front for Arsenal Football Club it's almost like a selfless job. Like obviously Kai Havertz has scored and had goal scoring opportunities. Jesus has scored in an Arsenal shirt, and Trossard's generally done well. But you have to occupy the centre backs. You have to occupy the spaces. You have to drop into midfield and allow other players to benefit from that. Which is why, you know, when we're linked with Ivan Toney, with the Sporting lad, with Osimhen, I find it intriguing, specifically looking at what Mikel Arteta would demand from a striker, because none of these strikers are alike. Obviously, they score goals, but it's not like an Arsenal forward just stands up front in the box and just waits for opportunities. You can't do that. Now, maybe Arteta tweaks and changes things when a new striker comes in, but it does make it delicate, really. On that as well, what do you make of the strikers that we've been linked with? Because, you know, I know your thoughts on Ivan Toney, but maybe other people don't. We've been linked with Osimhen, Ivan Toney, Joshua Zirkzee of Bologna, and is it Victor Gyökeres? Can never pronounce his name. Apparently, they're the 4 players up front that Arsenal are looking at. Where are you at with that? And what's your preferred one?
Yeah, I feel like out of all of them, the one that stands out the most as like the perfect option for us is Osimhen. I feel like Arsenal need somebody that can, again, occupy center backs, that has a physical presence, but also it would be nice to have pace in behind as well. He's not like clinical. Like I feel like as long as he gets a lot of chances, he's going to score loads of goals, which he would for us. So I'm not going to say that I haven't seen him miss chances, because I have, but everybody does. So Osimhen would be probably like my top choice. The biggest red flag for him, though, is that he is a sick note, and I'm tired of people that are not fit.
Well, we've got a lot of them.
Yeah, so just know if we get Osimhen, there are going to be plenty of streams of me bitching and moaning and complaining about this guy not being available, because it doesn't usually go in the other direction. I know people are like, yeah, but Thomas Partey, he came to us and he was never injured and now he's injured. I'm like, yeah, but that's the other direction. When have we really... Yeah, when have we seen players that are injury prone become uninjury prone? Like, it's very unlikely. So I would imagine that he's going to stay injured. So that annoys me a little bit, but he would be my top choice just on paper. Now, I really love the Gyökeres or whatever his name is. He looks the part. If you watch him play full matches, he looks like a player that can go do damage. And you never know how anybody is going to adapt to Arteta's way of play, because it's incredibly, like, it's a difficult way of play. You have to be a very smart player to like get it down. And some players,
very intricate.
exactly. And some players adapt quicker than others. But what I feel like you can kind of predict in some players is how they're going to adapt to English football. And one thing I do like about Gyökeres is he has played English football. Like it wouldn't be his first time in England playing. Like he played at Coventry and he did really, really well there. So, oh, sorry. I know that was like a really
fine. Everyone's got a phone. Continue, man. It's cool.
Yeah,
if anyone's got an issue around the phone making noise, they're sad, man. But go on.
But I really do think that he, 30 goals already this season, 10 assists or something like that, makes a lot of his own shot creating actions, mops up all the defensive mistakes, is a great striker of the ball, takes penalties. Like he just looks like the kind of striker that Arsenal need. He doesn't have the pace, but if I had to choose between like a Xerxes that has the pace and the flair, but doesn't have the clinical finishing, or somebody who lacks the pace but is more clinical, I'd probably lean towards the clinical guy because you can find pace other places. You can get a pacey winger instead. So Gyökeres would probably be my second option, and then Xerxes, Tony, like somewhere over here, because we don't know a lot about Xerxes. He's just kind of come out of nowhere. He looks like an Arsenal player, if that makes sense. Like he has the flair and all of that, but is he going to score enough goals? And then you have Tony, who stinks, so that's it.
Do you have anything positive to say about Ivan Toney, playing devil's advocate? Like, let's just say we signed him. Okay, we know you don't rate him. We all know you're a fair person. If he showed the quality, you give him his praises.
Yeah, of course.
And as I said, we know you don't rate him. But is there any sort of things you like about Ivan Toney if he did sign for the club?
I think, okay, I like that he's like a dead ball specialist for sure. I feel like we lack that in our team. We haven't scored directly from a free kick since 2021 against Burnley.
That must have been Odegaard, isn't it, really?
Yeah, exactly. So he's definitely somebody that can do that for sure. He's a good penalty taker, and I do prefer my number 9 to take penalties. Like I know that we're doing this rotational thing, but like maybe I'm just old fashioned, like just get the number 9 up there to take it. So I do like that about him. Like it's not that I kind of put a little extra mustard on it because it's just funny. Like I just like to poke the bear sometimes. Like I don't hate Tony the way that, maybe people think I do. I just feel like we would be making a mistake. So I just need to put that out there. I don't think he definitely makes us better, but I feel like there's a clear ceiling there, and I don't really feel like that's what Arsenal deserve. I feel like Arsenal deserves somebody that could potentially be top 1, 2, and 3 in their position. And I just don't think he has the potential to be that. So that's why I'm like so against him. And then because like when you say it, it rattles people. So it's fun. Do
you think there's a striker that is like, because I think we spoke about this on your stream, Ivan Toney, me and you could talk about him all day. Victor Osimhen, we're both in agreement that he would be great for us. Xerxes, I think there's something good about him, but then I share a lot of your concerns. He's a bit raw. He's a bit of a wild card. I do like Mr. Victor. He's at Sporting Lisbon. The more I research about him, but I don't know him religiously. Yeah. And then you throw in the Vlahovic's, the Ollie Watkins, and the many strikers. Do you think there is one striker that 100% convinces Arsenal fan base that is the man? Because they're all very different, and we just spoke about Arteta's system. I don't know.
Yeah, they're all very different and offer different things, but I think Arteta is very flexible. So I think there's a world where we could have gotten Vlahovic and it would have worked, but also we've gotten Jesus and it's worked. I feel like that's the beauty of having a really good manager. But in terms of like, does anybody fully convince? I feel like if Osimhen wasn't injury prone, I'd be 100% convinced on him. I just feel like he just has the mentality, the star quality, the finishing, he just has like,
as well.
Yeah, his link up play is decent, which I feel like that's all we need. We need like bare minimum. I genuinely don't think we need another false 9. I feel like we need somebody that could do the bare minimum in link up play, but their main focus is putting the ball in the back of the net. And I feel like he has all the elements to be like one of the best in his position for years, so he's the one to me that stands out the most, but there's still question marks. You just never know. And that's why it's up to the club to make take an educated risk on one of these guys, because they have to get it right. It's no matter who we buy, it's going to be expensive. So
Facts.
it's up to the club to get it right. But I do feel like you can get Osimhen or Gyökeres or maybe a couple of others and still get better, because I think our center forward position, it wouldn't take that much to improve it. It's just whether, like, how much we improve it. And that's where I feel like bringing in an Osimhen versus a Tony makes a huge difference. Because you can bring in Tony, he's going to make us better, but how much better is the question.
How much better would Osimhen make us then in comparison to Tony then, based on what you said? And what when you say make us better, beyond the obvious, which would be goals, like what is it then to someone who might be ignorant to what you're saying?
I feel like make us better in terms of like Tony is definitely going to make us, like, whether Jesus is there or not, we're going to maintain the level. We're going to have somebody that can take those dead balls. Like he's going to make sure that we maintain a title challenge. Like I feel like we would challenge for the title next season with Tony and the team. That's where we're at. Is he going to be the type of striker that we're going to, be able to go to, like, play in the Champions League and be the difference in a knockout match? No, I don't think so. Is he somebody where, because again, like I know that he scored at the Etihad, but I feel like it's different when you're Arsenal, because Man City are going to up their game against us, where they probably are not up for it as much against Brentford. So is he going to go to the Etihad and Anfield and be the difference? I don't know. Where I think Osimhen probably is that player that if you go to the Bernabeu, you'll feel very confident that you have an opportunity to beat them, which is what I'm thinking about. I feel like it's very small margins here. We're talking about the difference between 2 and 5%, So I don't think Tony would be like awful in our team. I just don't know if he's going to be the difference maker, because Arsenal need that. I feel like in those games with the small margins where we need to win it, I do feel like we lack somebody like against Porto, that even if we're playing really shit, like we'll win because we had this player in our team. Right now, if we play bad, we're losing. And I feel like we need somebody where even if we're not playing our best, can get us over the line because they just have it. I don't think Tony's that. I feel like Osimhen's that. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like Osimhen has that star quality that gets you out of jail free card kind of thing? Or do you feel like I'm gassing it a bit?
No, because you didn't help Nigeria, but we all know AFCON isn't the best barometer to judge a player. But I agree with that point, because I think you said it as well. I think when it comes to the Champions League, of course, it's about tactics and all of that, but it is about individual moments. You look at Porto, the guy who scored against us is one of the best statistically performing players in the Champions League at the point. He obviously bought a yard of space. Bit of a mistake from us, but he bought a ticket and he won the lottery in it. So I do agree with that. Where I look at the Porto game, I think we need to create, but then it comes back to what you said, that maybe someone who could just create something for themselves, we get goals. So I definitely agree with that. I just feel it comes back to for me in that I just don't know what Arteta wants from a striker, because being linked, I'm sure the names that are put in the press and what Arsenal are actually looking for to a degree would be different. But when you look at Tony, Vlahovic, Osimhen, Zertsky, Ivan Ferguson, this guy, that guy, obviously there's similarities, but they're all very different. So all I know is we need to sign a striker. As you said, it's going to cost a lot of money, so we need to get it right. Whether we're buying a Premier League proven guy or someone else, they're all going to present an element of risk. The only thing I would say with Osimhen is that I think he needs a lot of chances before he bags. I do think there's a bit of an Italian tax. And as you said, there is injuries. I said it there, and that it's going to be expensive. And I'm sure if you ask many Arsenal fans, 3 key areas they would address in the squad would be central midfield, potentially another winger and a striker. Do you think there's a reality where we spend over 100 million or in and around 100 million on a striker and another winger? And if we don't, could the man in question here, Jesus, essentially become a winger?
Yeah, I do think that there's probably the reality that with the amount of, because I do think Kai Havertz comes into play here. I do, because he is going to be probably the most expensive squad player you could have with the wages and what we spent on him. But I do think that, if, like, let's say we buy Osimhen or Tony or something and we have, they get injured, Kai Havertz immediately becomes a very good, option as center forward too. So I think with it being a lot more crowded up there, I do see an opportunity for Jesus to be moved out to the wing, which would be strange and kind of like, damn, because like that's why he left City. But that's just the reality of Jesus. Is I just don't think that he's necessarily proven that he is that number 9 that he says that he is. I do feel like he's kind of proven the doubters wrong, that nobody really questioned whether or not he was a good forward. It was whether or not he was a good 9. And I don't necessarily feel like he's changed that narrative. And I care about Arsenal more than I care about Gabriel Jesus's feelings. Like, he would make a better wing option right now. I feel for what we need. So that could change, but I feel like he'll play well across the front 3 in the next season or 2 for us.
I'm with you with that, man. In that, Jesus, obviously the big caveat was, you don't play as much as you would like to. You could take that quality you have and play up front. He does say I need to score goals, but when he sits there and says goal, and I am taking what he said out of context. When you say goals are not a strong point of mine, again, I'm taking it out of context. That does kind of rub me up the wrong way, where you look at someone like Tony who says, I always believe I'm going to score. I think we should just take Jesus for what he's good at, which is the Brazilians, and he can get, he's good for about 10, 11 plus goals. I actually think you would see Jesus score a lot more goals if the burden of being a goal scorer isn't on him. And obviously, as we said on your stream, now the biggest thing with Jesus, for whatever reason, is now these injuries. Fair enough, he got injured at the World Cup. I won't write him off of that. But once you hear, knees are being drained and things like that, it is quite scary, simply put, man. And again, me and you have spoken about, and I'd say the only thing one major thing that's going to stop this football club going forward is the vast majority of our players, they do pick up knocks. Now, every footballer gets injured, but how many players are you going to bet your life in this team are going to be fit? Kind of what you said about, about 4 players are the only undisputed starters. Saka's going to be there. Rice is going to be there. To a degree, Odegaard, Saliba and Gabriel are going to be there. But then Fabio Vieira, Jorginho, Smith, Kai Havertz as well. But Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko, Jorginho, Tomiyasu, Timber with a big injury, Thomas Partey, Reece Nelson even, Gabriel Jesus. A lot of our players pick up knocks. And if it's not out for a long period, it's 1 or 2 weeks. And Arteta said we've got one of the finished squads. I'm sure you would agree next season we can't keep having this, really, if we want to go to where we want to get to. I want to ask you another question as well, just because it's popped up. Shout out to yourself, Rayte, because you was on Jesse's stream as well. He said, do you think Arsenal should cash in on Martinelli? I think he struggled the most in his system. I think he means Arteta's system. Who do you think would be an ideal replacement? No clue on ideal replacement. I'm not selling Martinelli, but where are you at with that, Jess?
Nah, we're not. Getting rid of Martinelli just makes no sense when you see that we have several other players that we're not there yet. I don't think we're there where Martinelli and Jesus need to go or anything like that. I definitely think we're in the, Nketiah, these guys, start looking at them. But like Martinelli probably just is having like a less successful season. I don't feel like one season or whatever means that we need to start looking away from him. What we do need is another player. I feel like that's so important, which I think naturally will knock him down the pecking order just a little bit. My feeling on Martinelli has always been that Arteta likes him, but I don't think Arteta is sold on him being our starter forever. And that's why
frustrates the manager.
Yeah, and that's why we're constantly being linked to other wingers that can play in that position. Like I've argued with people about this forever. Just because we did not get Mudryk does not mean we did not want him. We wanted him badly. Arteta is even Gunner Blog came out with the article.
And even Pedro Neto and Rafinha. So that explosive winger is being earmarked for the squad.
They
maybe to even ease the burden on Martinelli and obviously Saka as well.
Yeah, and get somebody that naturally plays in that position. I feel like Saka is so good and well-rounded that he can make the wing position look natural for him, where Martinelli is so much so a striker that it's obvious in certain circumstances that we don't have a natural winger. And so it'd be great to have another player that can do those things. Maybe that would open up the opportunity for Martinelli to go central a little bit more. I don't know, but Martinelli is also not an Arteta signing. And I feel like ultimately non-Arteta signings end up falling down the wayside anyway. I think the only non-Arteta signing that, would have just continued on is Xhaka, because he just loves him so much. But Martinelli, it'd be interesting to see what happens when we get somebody else, because I don't think we would have spent the 80 million on Mudryk and he would have just been on the bench. I don't. I think he would have played and Arteta would have liked him. So And I also think he would have been different if he came to us. What do you think about that? Like, my thought process is just because somebody flops at another club doesn't mean they would have flopped for you. What do you think about Mudryk? What do you think he would have been like if he had come to Arsenal instead of gone to Chelsea?
Exactly what you said there, in that, obviously, Chelsea, it's a unique position. As much as I want to sit here and diss Chelsea, I think if they get their act together, they could be back. And I think when you look at all the attacking players, with the exception of Cole Palmer, who is, in fact, players full stop, who is really thriving, and Konku's not thriving, Sterling not doing much, Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo, if you told me that was over 200 million midfield, I'd tell you you're a liar. So I do agree, Mudryk in a better environment with more of a loving manager, with a patient kind of manager, you'd see better of him. I read the Athletic article yesterday, and it said, that they wanted Mudryk. Mudryk was crying because he didn't sign for Arsenal. But the key thing I took, you tough, right, man, forget all of that. But the main thing I took from that was they were urging, allegedly, that Mudryk would need a bit of time. And he does seem like one of them mentality kind of guys, the Kiwiors, the Congas, where they need an arm around them. I think Martinelli at this moment in time is a bit like, he would still be a key player, but you're more of a rotation option. Unless you're doing the Saka thing, excluding what he did last year, you're not going to be playing week in, week out. And I think that's where Martinelli is. Would you go back in for Mudryk if Chelsea do need to sell players? And as you said, Arteta did like him. Maybe there's a discount. We have bought Kai Havertz and Jorginho of recent years. Is there a deal to be done there for Mudryk? Could we go back again? You could argue you could perform on the left and the right if Saka needs a break.
I could see Arsenal doing that because we love a Chelsea, hand-me-down, and Arteta never lets go of his targets. But for me personally, I just feel like there's so many other good options that we could look at. I've seen in the chat people talk about Bakayoko, who I really like from PSV, Nico Williams.
I'm having him.
Yeah, and Pedro Neto. So, everything works out the way it's supposed to. And unfortunately, maybe just the Mudryk deal wasn't supposed to happen for us. I kind of felt a little sorry for him, but now that I'm seeing him in that blue Chelsea kit, I'm like, hold that.
He clearly got bullied to sign for them, man. I don't think with his chest he wanted to do that. Like, obviously he's put pen to paper, but he weren't smiling. It feels like that was a bit of a political one. Feels like he was like, you ain't got a choice. Like, you're going there, bro, or something happened to you.
Exactly. Like, I saw a lot of Chelsea fans were like, this cannot be true. And I'm just like, you guys be serious for 5 seconds. He is in a war-torn country, and his option was, they said that they were not going to accept Arsenal's offer, which was less than Chelsea's. So when you're 21 years old, most of these footballers are also, I'm not saying I know this for sure, but most of them are supporting their family. So you're being offered getting out of a war-torn country and tripling, quadrupling your wages.
Certain places as well.
It's not a hard decision for him to make. People are like, he should have just stayed there and waited for Arsenal. He's in a war-torn country.
There was not that option.
Yeah, so he had to go to Chelsea. And and you have older people in your ear that are probably getting some sort of brown paper bag, and saying you need to go. So I do believe that some version of this story, is he crying and talking to Arteta on the phone? Maybe not, but I think it was very clear.
Like a girl that doesn't want to break up with her boyfriend. I couldn't imagine.
It's very clear.
I don't want to go to Chelsea. I don't want to play with Conor Gallagher.
I mean, I think that he wanted to come to Arsenal, and it probably was devastating for him not to get the move. He was literally on Ukraine TV talking to Zinchenko's wife about coming to Arsenal. It was very obvious that he wanted to come.
Acting up on Instagram all the time as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it is what it is, but the ship has sailed. Like, we definitely have other options that we can look at. And so whatever, I don't know what to tell you.
Then again, when you deep it, obviously we just spoke about Mudryk. I know we've spoken about it before, but Pedro Neto, 80 million, is a bit of a madness, but that could probably come down. They were linked with Rafinha, as I said, and it looks like Barcelona sold him. If you had to rank them 1, 2, 3, if you had to move for one of them in the summer, who would you like? What would be your list, or who would you be the most hot on and the most cold on?
Out of the three? Those three?
Yeah.
Well, let's make it 4, because I think we should throw Nico Williams in there, because we've been
throw him in there. Yeah, go on then.
But I would say I don't want Rafinha anywhere near the club. He stinks. I'm sorry.
Right, I'm not on that either.
Yeah, and you're old, and so nobody forced you to go to Barcelona. You were twerking, and now you're there, and now you need to suffer. So I don't want him anywhere near. So just take him off completely. So like between
He's
Nico
lost.
Williams, Mudryk, and Neto, I would say again, just like Osimhen, Neto is the best option for us, but he is injury prone. So Neto with an
Arsenal
asterisk.
as well.
Yeah, then Nico Williams, then Mudryk. Mudryk, no. Would you take him? Would you take him back?
The saddest thing is, I've said it. I actually think there's a player in there. You played for Chelsea. I hope we never see it. But I think there's something there. I do think with Mudryk, you're at that time now where you need to make it happen for yourself. You need to look confident. You might even need to go on loan. And I don't know if this time next year, if we're doing videos, if Pochettino will still be there. But he looks like he needs a manager that's just going to say, you know what, you're going to play 5 to 10 games. If you're crap, you're still going to play. You've got 10 games to show me something. I think he could actually play good off the right hand side. I think he could be good off the left. I think his pace is there. As much as I question his character in terms of if he's a strong personality, and I follow him on Instagram and all of that. You see him doing all the training and stuff. So there's got to be something. But it's like a man said, hey, he looks like an athlete, not a footballer. It's the decision making. He looks very raw. And exactly as you said, he could have signed for Arsenal and been the best thing since sliced bread. But assuming he signed for Arsenal and he was like this, I think it's very techie. It's another kind of project. You've got Kai Havertz, which is another project. Martinelli and Saka are different projects, but they're not the finished articles in themselves. And I look at Martinelli, I imagine, like Martinelli is suffering a bit from, the hole in the midfield. When Jorginho plays, fair enough, he saw an increased performance and the inconsistencies with who is available at left back. If we assume Mudryk's there, and clearly Martinelli's got a lot more confidence than Mudryk, it might look a bit mad. I think there's a player in there, but everybody's got potential.
I mean, but I just feel like when you look at Chelsea's track record, especially when it comes to attackers, it's they're
smelly.
Sus. It's like, damn, like, are these players actually that bad, or are you guys just stinky? Like, so I think, listen, Social Joints is saying it in the chat, 30 to 40 million for Mudryk. Yeah. Like, I feel like, I don't know. Maybe I'm
and he's on the mad contract, like Chris is saying there.
Yeah, it's like, but I think if we came and we were like, listen, we'll take him for 30 to 40 million, I feel like they would pack his bags and send him over to us. I do. I think that was so desperate for them. Like that whole Bowley thing over that January window and the summer window was all about, showing how,
flex my muscles, London Cowboys.
Exactly. And now it's like, okay, but like you can't just win transfer windows. You have to actually win football matches. So yeah, and Chelsea do need to sell, so I don't know. Ask me again in the summer. Maybe I'll feel differently because 80 million for injury prone Neto is rubbing me up the wrong way. It really is. And like, I'm not trying to be an accountant. I'm really not. But like, we can't even get a discount.
Must be able to, man. Surely, like I just think Wolves are acting up. Don't get twisted. Wolves seem like they're in a good place financially for every report that says with FFP, and obviously he's a strong player. But your agent is George Mendes. You've been linked with Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool. Big up Spurs, I guess. But and obviously of all of them, City. You're bound to have your head turned. And when you've got an agent like Mendes, you're probably going to force the move out. Now, don't get twisted. I think Wolves are within their rights to ask for that money. Premier League teams know everybody's got money. Do your thing in it, really and truly. As we just said with Mudryk, you look at what I know it's not the same, but Anthony went to United for stupid money. Mudryk went to Chelsea for stupid money. They might sit there and say, boy, he's fairly Premier League proven. To which, if we're trying to buy Neto, we'd say, well, the man can't stay fit. I think the Neto thing is dead in the water, but if we could get that for 50, 60, 23 years of age.
Oh, you think it's dead in the water? Right? You don't think we're not going to get him? Like, you don't think we're interested for real?
I think we moved on from Pedro Neto. Honestly, I think we moved on. I think we like him a lot, but I just think it's a myth now, man. I just think the club have moved on. The club are just saying, you know what, you're going to cost a bit too much. Forget all about that. Do you think we'll sign 2 centre mids this summer window?
No, guys. I genuinely
One
don't.
and done, innit?
Yeah, because like it's first of all, it's rare to buy 2 center midfielders. I feel like we're a little like every, maybe because other teams do it, but I just feel like 1 in midfield probably feels right. You re-sign Georgie, then you just need 1 to replace Thomas Partey, and that makes the most sense to me. and we need to spend a lot more money up front, I think. So yeah, just one. It's like we probably could use two, but we'll probably only get one, which I'm kind of okay with, if I'm honest with you.
Depends on the caliber of them. Like you said there, I would love an 8. If you can find an 8 and a 6, like a Douglas Luiz, great. But I'd love an 8.
Yeah, exactly. Because you get almost a 2 for 1.
Exactly. And then I would love a 6 as well, just to be able to rest Declan Rice, or maybe there's games where, you know, we could play both of them. I would like next season, for as durable as they are, you know, the Bukayo Sakas, the Benjamin Whites, the Big Gabriels, the Salibas, the Declan Rice, if I haven't said his name, to be able to rest them when the rare occasions are there, because we can't afford to do that because they're key players and because we don't have enough players. Would you take Elise?
No. This is gonna be a very unpopular opinion, but you can rate a player very highly and not quite see them at our club. I think we need somebody another injury prone, not necessarily an explosive winger, more of a creative wide forward, which I don't think we necessarily need. And I think we need somebody more on the left than we do on the right. And he's really mostly used on the right. So I don't know if he fits us. I feel like Neto, Nico Williams, these guys actually fit us a lot more, but that doesn't mean I don't rate him. I think he's fantastic, but he's another sick note. He's always out, you know, so you know.
I think it's interesting though, where you look at our midfield, because, you know, again, check out the video that I did on Jessie's channel with her, again, subscribing that. We've spoken a while about Zubamendi, about Douglas Luiz, about Onana, the 3 man that are primarily linked with our club. Have you seen Ruben Neves' comments about like the Arsenal move not happening in the summer? Now, I think it was correlated with Partey not leaving. Maybe it would have happened if he did, but if you have seen it, what did you make of Ruben Neves suggesting that Arsenal were keen to sign him last summer, and he was saddened after failing to secure a move to either Arsenal or Barcelona?
It's so funny because like he is like my favorite example for like when you're desperate, you'll take anything. I've never rated that freaking guy. Like I just am like, gosh, I'd never rated him. I felt like if you didn't like Xhaka because he was slow, this guy's fucking worse. Like he's so slow. Once you're buying him, you're buying him. I think he would fit well in like Arteta's system, because Arteta makes sure that he he doesn't exacerbate the flaws of a player. He makes their best qualities look better, and he does have a good passing range, but I just never liked him. And so I'm glad it did not materialize.
Are you taking, well, I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Are you taking Marcus Rashford or Jadon Sancho based on the chat?
Who?
Damn.
Freaking Rashford could never play for Arsenal under Arteta. Let's be serious. He is so lazy. Like, there's just no way. The
decision making would turn him crazy if you can't even deal with Martinelli's. Like, if you watch the bench camera.
But I like that profile of like a tall wing forward that has like disgusting pace.
Be great.
I would love a player like that, but not Marcus. Like Marcus he just needs to stay where he's at.
And his wages, for as much as I like that.
Absolutely nothing about him that you know. Sancho is another one that I just feel like would not fit what we're trying to do. Like I just feel like he's right where he needs to be in the Bundesliga, where there's tons of space. He doesn't have to work as hard.
Commutes are volatile, man.
Yeah, but I always think back to that one little video of him and Saka where he was like, you know, him and Saka were standing next to each other, and Saka was like, "How many goals did you get?" And Sancho's like, "How many goals did you get?"
Why, like, you gotta be humble in life, you know. Life will humble you, you know.
Yeah, I'm like, well, you know, now look, you know, it's the old like, you know, what talent, like work hard is better than working hard is better than talent when talent doesn't work. It's one of those things with Sancho and Saka. I feel like Sancho probably is the more naturally talented one, but Saka is running laps around him as he works infinitely harder. People are asking about Leao.
I think he's overrated. I'm having him, but I think he's mad overrated. I don't understand it. I think there's just because I think a man's overrated, don't mean I think a man's not good.
I agree.
There's a lot of raw qualities in him, but he's quite brainless at times. He goes through these hot and cold streaks. I think at times he can be a one-trick pony. He has flirted with playing up front as well as primarily on the left. I like his profile. I like basically what Arteta has done. You know, you've seen Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard, Saliba, all them kind of young players go from strength to strength, you know, and you're seeing a different kind of Declan Rice. So I think the gaffer could get something out of him. But he's incredibly frustrating. And again, I know players are not going to say anything different, but he seems like he's keen on staying at AC Milan based on his recent comments.
Yeah, I would love to just watch him play for another club. Like, I don't really.
One that I don't think people watch a lot, if I'm completely honest. I don't think people watch it all the time.
I think they watch the Twitter, you know, video when it comes out when he scores, and they're like, wow, he's freaking amazing. And it's like, you guys realize that he went through like a span like before now where he only had 3 goals in the league? Like, you guys, be serious. And then when you watch him play, it's like, what did you see him do against Newcastle and Dortmund and stuff like that? And we didn't see anything because he's just kind of like a moments guy right now. And in the Premier League, you cannot be a moments person. Like, it's so unforgiving, so physical, so like everything is like boom, 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 boom. So he'd be perfect for PSG, or he's perfect in Serie A now, but he's just not somebody that I could see being good in the Premier League, because the Premier League is so unforgiving and you have to perform. Like, you, even if he's more talented than somebody else, the consistency in his performances aren't good enough, I feel like, for a team that really wants to compete in the Premier League. Now, maybe he can be coached, but as unpopular as it probably is, I'd keep Martinelli.
I mean, he's drippy, so I'd take Rafael out, but he'd be extremely frustrated. What have you made of Mikel Arteta? He's confirmed that Thomas Partey should be in contention to play for the first time in nearly 5 months when we play Sheffield United. And he's also revealed Tomiyasu and Zini are on the mend as well. Obviously, we know Timber's got back in training. Jesus was an unused substitute against Newcastle. So what do you make of Partey back? Do you have any confidence that he's able to stay fit and be a big part? And what do you make of collectively all these players returning, Jess?
I love that people are returning, because that means that I won't see freaking Cedric on the bench and whoever Sweet is and all these other randoms on the bench. I don't know who you are, so I don't know what to tell you. But like, do I have confidence that he'll stay fit? No. I'm not crazy. Like, he's definitely going to get like another knock. And we'll see if he actually plays, because last time he was on the bench against Chelsea, he didn't come on. And I thought that was very strange. He made the bench, didn't even take a touch, even though we were getting overrun in midfield, and then never showed back up, you know. So
was Arteta scared then? Like, maybe there was like, oh, you're fit, but you're not really fit. There's setbacks in that. Maybe.
Well, we'll see. You know, we'll see with that. What would be freaking hilarious is if the first time we see Thomas Partey back in the team, he plays right back. That would make me chuckle.
Advancement.
Yeah, but listen, getting any of these players back, especially Partey and Jesus, 2 players that I think a lot of people would consider in our starting 11, is good for us. So I'm happy to see them back. But do I feel like there's not going to be another twist around the corner? I always think injury-prone players have another injury right around the corner. So
I mean, Thomas Partey, great player, quality player, but you know, for all your ability, you need to stay fit. And me and Jess rarely agree, but I think we're both in agreement on Thomas Partey. We're past that. Exactly, like he's a great player, but you're never fit, and I've never got confidence that you'll stay fit, to the point where I look at last season, where I guess Thomas Partey and the players and the coaching staff and the medical staff, they did a great job keeping the man fit, because he was fit for 40 games, 33 in the league. But I now think that was an anomaly. Sorry, that was a bit of a random one. I'm past it with Partey. Do you think his career is done regardless, or do you think he's got this last end of the season to somewhat save his Arsenal career?
I don't know. Some people are saying that like they're seeing rumors of Thomas Partey getting a new contract. I think the only time I saw that was from an in the know that tends not to be right about things. So I think his Arsenal career is pretty much dead and buried, especially if we give Jorginho that new contract, because we have to relieve those wages and give it to somebody that can play 90% of the games, because his wages require that from the player. So I think his Arsenal career is pretty much like in the coffin, but he can go to like another league. Like I honestly don't feel like Thomas Partey ever got to grips with the pace of the Premier League.
It's the London lifestyle. He cashed out, man. He cashed out.
Yeah, I think like a Saudi would be great for him, or, you know, something like that, you know, where he can just be who he is and shit and just get away with it.
Do you think that if he goes somewhere, he'll stay fit? And also, what would you rate his Arsenal career at 10, Thomas?
Well, do I think he'll go somewhere and be fit? Maybe. I think he can go to, if he goes to like Saudi where it's like it's warmer and it's less
Playing 2 games a season over
yeah,
there.
I think he'd be fine doing something like that. But Just Jay is saying 45 million for a player that's missed 2 seasons worth of football. I don't think people actually genuinely understand what 45 million release clause was like for Arsenal in 2020. That's incredibly expensive. He was our marquee signing in a time where we didn't have money because it was it was COVID.
Was the summer of him versus our, which one fans wanted? Crazy.
Yeah. So it's kind of like when you think about the fact that he's had 1 good season, where he was fit and played well for the majority of it out of 4. And the first 2, he rated himself a 4 out of 10. We have to be honest about the fact that this was probably an underwhelming signing based on, everything, all the context. Like marquee signing supposed to be like our answer for the DM position, has been incredibly unavailable. And then when he does play, you're not quite sure who you're getting. So I would say he was an underwhelming signing, but that doesn't mean that he's not a top player. But look at Liverpool and Thiago. We all know Thiago Alcantara, when he's playing, is probably a top 5 midfielder in the league. But because you don't see it, he flopped for them.
Come on against us and got injured again, didn't he?
Yeah, he flopped, So I don't want to call Thomas Partey a flop, but I'll say it's incredibly unreliable and underwhelming. So I would rank it like a 5 or 6.
I think that's fair. I was just about to say, I'll give it a 6, man. I'd say with Thomas Partey, I've only got 2 things. In that, when you play, you're a quality play. There's a number of big games you've turned up in. The one that stands out for me is the one where, the man in the background of the Jorginho one, you and El Nene at Old Trafford. I think there's been a couple North London derbies. I think Partey's a quality player, but injuries, can't get around it. Partey can't stay fit.
Yeah,
I never see that level, so it's a 6. My last question for you then, because you mentioned Jorginho, if you lot don't know what this is saying, people, Arsenal are preparing to open contract negotiations with Jorginho following a string of standout performances. The PA news agency understands it is understood that a 1-year deal with the option of a further year is planned as an opening point for talks. Do you think he should get that deal? What do you make of that before I let you get out of it?
Yeah, I feel like obviously this may sound like recency bias and maybe just like, the couple of performances that he's made, but on the wages that he's on and the experience that he has and the vibe that he gives and his quality when he does play, I think warrants like an extension on his deal. I don't actually think that this means like anything like he's going to be starting or anything like that. I think he's going to take the El Neni role. And if you get rid of Cedric and you get rid of El Neni, you have one guy in your team that's like a more experienced squad player. He's probably perfect for that. And we've kind of missed a trick not having Xhaka in the team. So with the team that's still the 3rd youngest in the league, you have to keep some experience. So if it came down to Partey or Jorginho, I think it's obvious who wins that based on, what we already talked about. So I'm happy for
there's sentiment to it as well.
No, I think what it is that Arteta's always wanted him. And so he wants him for as long as he can have him. I think Arteta does like, maybe it's a little bit of like the coach off the pitch and all that kind of stuff. So if you feel like that's the sentiment aspect of things, then I can understand that. But I genuinely feel like Arteta rates his quality on the pitch too. So, and I think he's going to be so important for us. We need experienced players. We don't have very many. We went into that Porto game with 1 player that's been at that level. 1. Starting that game that's been at that level. 1.
And I even think that's a bit of a cop-out as well. Like, obviously, I think you're right. But I just feel when people say, oh, Arsenal, they ain't been in that situation before. Of course, experience. I think experience is overrated, but it can't be overstated. But to that, I would say there's many of those players that played against Porto where there's transferable experience. You've all played tough European games. Some of you at this club or elsewhere. So I'm not with that. But Jess, I know you got things to do. I'm going to let you lot get out of it. I'm going to let you and everyone else get out of it. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channels. Let people know where they can find you before you're off.
Guys, just go into the search bar and say, she knows Arsenal or Jess. She knows Arsenal, Jess. I will pop up for more madness. Come on. And like,
there you have it there, people.
For sure.
there you have it, man. And typically Thursdays on both channels, there's content of some capacity. So yeah, people, smash the like button, subscribe to the channels, make sure you're supporting the movement. And for now, peace.